If you pay attention to the firearms industry, it can feel kind of stagnant at times. It's hard to come up with truly novel products, so instead we seem to go in circles, rediscovering old ideas every few years until they finally catch on. Like how everybody recently decided LPVOs weren't actually bleeding edge tech and found an alternative in a scope from 1987. Leupold has quite possibly the worst timing of any company in the industry, with some of their coolest ideas going underappreciated in their heyday, only to retroactively be heralded as groundbreaking when some other company does it years later. The Leupold Mark IV CQT was an LPVO with a true 1X on the bottom end, not a common sight in the year 2002, and it was built into a rugged monolithic body a full decade before Trijicon launched the VCOG. It is virtually forgotten today. Leupold's hammer was a battery-powered 4X prism sight with a top-mounted red dot, a sighting configuration extremely popular with the tactical guys right now, but underappreciated in its time. It came out before Trijicon made a battery-powered version of the ACOG, and it was discontinued before a lot of you were old enough to drive. Leupold also used to make this, the Leupold Prismatic, a 1X prism sight that came out about a decade before Primary Arms got around to trying it. When the hype started building for the PA 1X micro prisms a few years ago, Leupold must have felt like they were being gaslit. This video is brought to you in part by our channel sponsor, Venture Surplus. Check out Venture at the link in the video description and use the code provided to save 10% off your order of military surplus gear, clothing, or MREs. They also have new stuff like these excellent undershirts from Safi, darn tough wool socks, and this. What is this? What does this do? Am I even allowed to own this? Where do you guys find this stuff? Thank you to Venture for supporting this channel. And no, seriously, is that thing safe? Like to the touch? Let's get back to the video. The Leupold Prismatic was, as far as I can tell, one of the first ever commercially available 1X prism scopes. Trijicon had been making 1.5 power prisms for a long time, but a 1.5X prism is a lot like an LPVO with a bottom end magnification of 1.5X, really quite bad. The concept of a prismatic reflex sight doesn't start to make sense until you can get it to be truly unmagnified. At 1.5 power, you have a bad scope. At 1 power, you have a potentially viable red dot alternative. Leupold introduced the Prismatic sometime in the mid-2000s. It shows up in their 2007 catalogs as a new product, so we'll ballpark it there. Not only is this one of the very first 1X prism sights, it's also essentially a 1X micro prism. Even when other companies got on the 1X prism bandwagon years later, their offerings were noticeably chunkier, such as the original Primary Arms Cyclops. The big appeal of a 1X prism sight versus a red dot is the adjustable diopter, allowing you to focus the reticle to your shitty defective astigmatic eyeball. On the Leupold Prismatic, the entire eyepiece rotates to adjust diopter, and there is a locking ring to snug up against it once you get it to the setting that works for you. The illumination on the Prismatic is controlled by a single push button, so it does have that classic problem old Leupolds had, where you press the button to increase brightness, and you only know you're at max brightness after you've pressed the button too many times and gone back around to minimum brightness. The Prismatic is powered by a 1/3 N battery, the same type used in old aim points. The illumination is on the upper end of what I would call daylight visible. Not truly daylight bright, but the reticle designs are easy enough to pick out in most lighting conditions with only a bit of help from the illumination. The one I got to play with has the Leupold Circleplex reticle, but the Prismatic was also available with the Leupold DCD reticle, double circle dot. 2 illuminated circles and a center aiming dot. The DCD would have been great for a turkey shotgun or possibly competition use. The Circleplex would have been good for other general purposes. The Leupold Prismatic has a Picatinny rail attachment with an optional spacer. If you were putting one of these on a shotgun or traditional bolt-action rifle, you could omit the spacer to get it lower. The Prismatic could alternatively be mounted in a 30mm scope ring. All you had to do was remove the illumination module. As far as I can tell, the Leupold Prismatic was always sold with the illumination module. It wasn't some day one DLC nonsense. It consists of a battery housing, the button, and the LED emitter in a 2-piece ring held together by Torx T10 screws. There is a bit of fiber optic or some kind of window on the side of the scope body that lines up with the LED emitter on the module. There is an indent on the side of the optic housing to ensure the illumination module lines up properly every time. But you can remove the illumination module if you wish, either to free up space for a scope ring for mounting to certain platforms, or if you want to get rid of the illumination entirely. I was totally perplexed by this, but I was talking to a friend of mine and he pointed out why it makes sense. In a lot of states, including Oregon, where Leupold is based, you can't hunt with electronic sights. The illumination on the prismatic would make it a no-go for certain locales, animals, or seasons. And of course, because of how laws work, you can't just not use the illumination. For the same bogus reason you can't use a high-capacity magazine and just not load it all the way, or have auxiliary lights on your truck and just not turn them on. Is it stupid? Yes. Hunting regulations are often quite stupid, and they have absurd follow-on effects, such as making it technically illegal to be outside with a gun that has a light on it during hunting season. Please, try to enforce that. I want to see what happens. PSA.
It's in the gun.
It's in the gun.
PSA.
Functional.
Average, please.
In any case, the Leupold prismatic does what you expect it should. When you get the diopter dialed in, the 1x setting is pretty true to life. You have plenty of eye relief to work with, and you don't have a thick bezel intruding into your field of view. The prismatic works decently for both eyes open shooting and fast target acquisition. The current crop of primary arms 1x microprisms are maybe slightly better, but Leupold clearly had this concept dialed in just fine back in 07. Honestly, I just don't really care for the concept. This can get close to the performance of a red dot, but it can never match it for just so many different reasons. I don't really get the hype around the primary arms Cyclops either. It is a vanishingly small percentage of the population who is so fucking blind they can't use a red dot sight. A bit of astigmatism bloom isn't a big deal on a reflex optic. You put the blob on the target and pull the trigger until the problem goes away. If you want to clean up that dot a bit for longer range shots, you flip over a magnifier and you'll be good to go. There are people out there with a debilitating astigmatism, but I imagine a lot of those people could benefit more from a visit to the optometrist and a nice pair of corrective lenses than they would from a gimmicky scope. Outside of turkey hunters who wanted an unmagnified shotgun optic that complied with local hunting ordinance, or maybe competition shooters with really bad eyes, I think the target demographic for the Leupold prismatic was too limited to keep it around. Leupold did have the prismatic in their tactical optics catalog as well, but even there the pitch for it seems kinda half-assed. Red dots were pretty damn good in 2007. You did not need to be hunting for alternatives. Maybe if this thing came out in the 1980s, it would have been a little bit more revolutionary. I would attribute the comparative success of the primary arms SLX and GLX 1X prisms to marketing and price point. It's a lot easier to sell the gimmick when you don't have to pay Leupold prices for it. The prismatic was about $500 not adjusted for inflation versus about $250 modern dollars for the primary arms. But still, we have to give credit where credit is due. Leupold proved the concept could be done, then quietly killed it, which means they can flex so much hipster cred. Oh yeah, that idea, I tried it before it was cool. Wasn't really for me.
What's your favorite tractor so far that you've seen at NRAM?
The orange one.
The orange one?
I like the orange one.
That's our show, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to support this channel, please check out the links in the video description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next one.
Only picked up one shot. It's too quiet.
16-inch, 9mm.
Try it again. Well, because it's set for a rifle, so stand by. .39, .16 splits.
It shoots good, and that bullseye reticle is fucking huge. You just have to you can catch it on your way up.
Why'd you stop making it then?
Because it was before its time. Now everybody loves the primary arms micro prism.
I know.
But
Everybody thinks primary
Leupold
arms invented
does it.
prisms, man.
Leupold does it. No, God, this is gay.